All right, welcome back. It's still East Central, and we're still here talking about entertainment. And yes, I have a special guest with me, and we're going to be discussing something really interesting. Now, stage plays face challenges in gaining attention in today's entertainment world, where cinema dominates with high-budget films and streaming platforms offering instant access. Despite their cultural significance and rich history, live theaters struggle to compete with the visual spectacle of broad appeal for movies. Now, as cinema continues to reign supreme, the question arises whether stage plays can adapt and regain their spotlight. Now, joining me to discuss why stage plays struggle for the spotlight in the age of cinema is creative director Ibi Kontein. How you doing, Ibi?
I'm very good.
Great to have you. Please.
I'm pleased to be here.
All right, great stuff, great stuff. So, before we came live, I asked if you were a stage producer. You said you're a writer, you're a director, and also a producer. Right, great. So I believe this conversation is majorly tailored for you.
It is.
All right, so now let's. I'd like to start from what initially drew you to producing stage plays. Why did you choose to get into that line of work? Why did you decide, okay, stage I want to do?
So stage is not what I started off doing initially.
Okay.
Right. For my first degree in school, I studied international law and diplomacy. But while I was in school, there was this theater group, and during my orientation, my 100 level, they had an audition, and I was thrilled by the performance. Right. In theater, there's something called breaking the fourth wall, and that's what they did. An actor spoke to me, so I felt like I was part of the play. And from that moment, I knew, you know what, I want to get into this. So I started off acting, started off as an actor. I acted for 2 years plus, and then I started writing. In 2018, I took a whole 3 months course just on writing for theater, right? And then when I moved into directing was because, as much as I was a great actor, I realized I wanted to control the narrative of what was happening on stage.
Okay.
So I had to move backstage. I had to be behind the scenes. And that's when I switched completely to directing and producing. There are so many stories that we have as Nigerians, as women, as Nigerian women, that I love to tell, that I am telling, and that I am still telling. So that's why I am here. I control the narrative. I choose the stories to tell. I choose how I want to tell the stories, because these are conversations that some people shy away from. So that's why I have remained here to tell, to tell all the stories, the unconventional stories.
Interesting. I like that. So much purpose-driven when what you're saying.
Yes.
And let's talk about stage now, and the fact that it has. It's not mainstream anymore, because I think Nigerians or in this part of the world, we don't really see it as mainstream compared to the screenplay, cinema. So why do you think that? What happened that caused that switch? What do you think?
The main thing is accessibility, right? You can stream a movie from your phone, from the comfort of your bed, but to see a play, there's not much of that happens. So one, you need transport to get to the venue. Two, you need to buy a ticket. And when you look at that in comparison to how much a lot of streaming platforms charge, the financially wise decision would seem like, okay, I'm going to lay in bed and pay for a month subscription and stream a movie instead of, paying my transport to a play center and watching a play live, right? So there's accessibility, and then there's also mainstream media in terms of what we find cool.
Okay.
Right? It's only recently in the last 7-8 years that, because young people are getting back into theater, so we're pulling our friends into it, theater is becoming another cool thing, right? But for the main issue we're having in terms of the comparison with cinema and stage, it's because, one, the accessibility, and two, people don't even know of it, right? Because when it doesn't happen as much, because theater doesn't have the funding, the infrastructure, the investment, so it doesn't happen as much. So I would know of a film, because films, there's always product coming out, instead of a theater where plays happen maybe once in 2 months or once in 3 months, right? So accessibility, mainstream media, and infrastructure, that's like the main issue that we have for theater as opposed to cinema. Okay, now you said something about young people getting involved. Yes.
And over the years, we'd see that a lot of people would rather just say, okay, stage plays are for the older generation. Just go there when your mommies and daddies want to go and see a play. But now you see young people are getting involved. Why? What exactly caused this switch of interest for the younger ones? Is it that they got more involved in acting the plays, or they got more involved in the production aspect? What would you say?
Both, right? Because my first introduction to theater was a book by a playwright, an old playwright, a Nigerian playwright that I read. But then I did not see any other person doing it. It was my father that used to take me to theater. But now, because people are leaving the conventional career paths, right, they are more inclined to following what they truly want to do, what their passion is. In 15, 20 years ago, you wouldn't comfortably tell your parents, oh, instead of studying law or this, you know, I want to go full-time into acting or into producing. But now we're able to have these conversations. So young people are saying, you know what, this is what I want to do, and this is what I will do, right? A lot of my friends have never seen theater till I started doing plays and inviting them. So now they know, oh, this is happening. And even when other plays are happening, they say, oh, Ibi, I want to go for this because I liked what you did, right? So people are more willing and more able to pursue their dreams in art-related or whatever it is, acting, producing. They want to tell their stories. And they're able to do this because there's a confidence that we have now to branch out of conventional career paths. So that's why younger people are getting into theater. It's controlling the narrative.
Yeah, great stuff. You spoke about infrastructure now, and I would want to talk on that as well, because you can see we have more cinemas in different places. Now, putting up a play venue where people can go and see a good play, why do you think we don't have a lot of that, since we can have cinemas everywhere? What's stopping people from having those kind of venues for people to come and watch plays?
The audience and the funding. One, cinema has a larger audience, right, than theater has currently. I don't want to say we'll ever have, because we'll get there. Cinema has a larger audience. So if you're building a venue particularly for theater, because theater does not have the funding that cinema does, it's not going to, pay the people that own this venue. The cost of setting up a theater venue is a lot more than setting up one that's just cinema friendly. Right. In terms of infrastructure, there are barely 6 venues in Nigeria that are proper theater-friendly venues. Every other thing, you have a play being structured to suit the venue, immersive theater, experiential theater, you know, all that. But there are not enough venues, and because there's no funding being put into this. When you look at the private sector, or you know, wanting to invest, they look at ROI. How is this going to pay me? Theater is not like film that you have 50,000 people streaming from across the world. With theater, it's a particular audience in one location. So brands may not necessarily want to pump into that, because for them, they're looking at the ROI. At the end of the day, it's capitalism, right? How does this pay me? So that's one of the reasons why we still do not have enough theater venues. And hopefully that gets better, because now with young people coming into theater, with theater becoming cool again, a lot of brands are being attracted. So fingers crossed that in the next 3-5 years we have more theater accessible, more theater friendly venues for plays in Nigeria. Okay, so I did a quick research on why some people wouldn't like to go and see a theater play. Some said the kind of stories that are done are not really the ones that can, resonate with the everyday person. They're really more complex or maybe archaic. That's what they said. Now, looking at film, you can get the everyday conversation in film. So do you think that as well has been something that caused a bit of it not being pushed as much as it should be? Yes. A lot of plays before now have been adaptations of previously written works by older and sometimes even late, playwrights. And bringing that into the current context, it does not align. They cannot relate to that. Which is why, again, I am constantly pushing for younger people to get into theater and tell their own stories, not stories that have previously been told or stories they think, may get them some certain kind of award, right? People will see an experience and love it if they can relate to it. A play that was done last year that I did around the woes of job hunting in Nigeria. Yes. We did it last year in Lagos, and this year we're going to Peckham with that play. We're also going to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival with that play, right? Because it is a play that people can relate to. What is a general experience? What is a universal experience? Right now? What's happening now? What's happening in my life that I can see in that play? If you bring an issue from 50, 60 years ago, they're not going to connect. Exactly. And the next time you invite them to a play, it's not going to happen. Exactly. They're not going to want to come. So we need to tell current stories that people can connect with. So as a director and a producer, I was going to ask this question because there's this controversy about actors who can not do stage.
and only film. So as a director, would you say an actor is not an actor if he can't do stage? Would you say that?
I'm quite biased when it comes to acting, but I believe that everybody has their strong suit. Personally, because I do not do film, at least not yet, I only work with stage actors. So I am not one to judge a talent based on, if they do stage or if they don't do stage. But my observation as a director and a producer has been that the best actors are theater actors. And even when you watch them in movies, in film, you see them shine through. I could watch a movie and tell you, this person has done theater. This person is a trained theater actor, right? A lot of screen actors may or may not shine in stage, but stage actors will always shine on screen. There is the grooming, the training, the experience that comes with performing for stage.
Interesting. The way you answered that question was so very, very professional, and I like that. But definitely, if we had more time, would have had more conversations on this as well. But thank you for coming out to have this conversation with us today. And at least you've been able to shed more light on this issue that has been burning in the minds of a lot of young Nigerians as regards stage. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Ibi. Thank you for joining me.